The stars seemed to hold their breath as Captain James Reed stood motionless on the bridge of the Grey Wolf. His weathered hands rested on the command console, eyes fixed on the vast emptiness of space before him. 3 months of careful planning had led to this moment. The crew around him worked in near silence, their movements precise and deliberate. "Contact in 5 minutes," reported Tom from the sensor station. His voice carried the weight of anticipation that had built up over their long hunt. Reed nodded, his gray eyes reflecting the soft blue glow of the holographic displays. The Grey Wolf hung in space like a shadow, its stealth systems making it nearly invisible against the backdrop of stars. They had positioned themselves perfectly, close enough to a major shipping lane to be believable as a stranded vessel, but far enough that no regular traffic would stumble into their trap. "Status report," Reed ordered, his voice calm despite the tension building in his chest. "All systems running silent, Captain," Lisa responded from engineering. "Power signature masked and holding steady. Weapons primed but powered down," added Mike from tactical. "We can bring them online in 3 seconds." The bridge crew had worked together long enough to know their roles perfectly. They were the best the Earth Defense Force had to offer, specially chosen for this mission. The mysterious black ship had attacked 7 human colonies in the past year, leaving destruction and confusion in its wake. No one knew its origin or purpose, but its pattern had become predictable enough for Reed to set this trap. 2 minutes to contact," Tom announced, his fingers dancing over his console. Spatial distortion growing. "It's definitely coming." Reed straightened his uniform, a habit from his 20 years of service. "Remember, people, we wait until it's fully committed. No early shots, no matter what we see. We only get one chance at this." The minutes ticked by with agonizing slowness. Reed could feel his heartbeat in his throat, but his exterior remained calm. A captain's confidence was infectious, and right now his crew needed that strength. Suddenly, space itself seemed to tear open. A massive dark shape emerged from the hyperspace window, its hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. The black ship lived up to its name. It was like looking at a hole cut into the fabric of space itself. "Size estimate confirmed," Tom whispered, awe in his voice. "It's even bigger than the report suggested. Nearly 2 kilometers long. Energy readings are strange, Captain," Lisa reported, frowning at her displays. "There's something not right about its power signature." Reed had learned to trust his crew's instincts, but they couldn't back down now. "Hold positions. Let it get closer." The black ship moved with surprising grace for its size, adjusting its course toward their location. They had broadcasted a distress signal for the past 12 hours, making themselves appear as a damaged cargo vessel. The bait was simple but effective. "It's scanning us," Tom reported. "Basic electromagnetic sweep." "Wait, Captain, these scans are incredibly detailed. There. Weapons, multiple weapon ports opening." Mike's shout cut through the tension like a knife. Reed's eyes narrowed. "They're not taking the bait. They're hunting us. Battle stations. Bring weapons online now." The Grey Wolf's stealth systems powered down as its weapon arrays charged to life. The element of surprise was lost, but Reed had planned for this too. "All batteries, target their forward weapon ports. Fire as soon as you have a solution." The next few seconds exploded into chaos. The Grey Wolf's energy beams lanced out through space, striking the black ship's hull with surgical precision. But instead of the expected explosion, the beams seemed to be absorbed into the dark surface. Direct hits, but minimal damage. Mike reported, disbelief in his voice. "That hull isn't just absorbing light. It's absorbing our weapon energy too." Reed gripped his console tighter. This was supposed to be an ambush, but now he wasn't sure who was hunting them. The black ship's true nature was about to be revealed, and he had a sinking feeling that his crew was about to discover something far more dangerous than they had prepared for. The real battle was just beginning. The black ship's response was immediate and devastating. Beams of dark energy erupted from its hull, barely visible against the backdrop of space. The gray wolf shuddered as the first blast struck its shields. Shields at 60%. Lisa shouted from engineering. Whatever they're firing, it's eating through our defenses like they're paper. Reed grabbed his chair as another blast rocked the ship. Evasive maneuvers. Tom, get us behind that thing. Mike, keep firing. Target their weapon ports with everything we've got. The gray wolf rolled and dove, its engines pushing to maximum thrust. The smaller ship had the advantage of speed and maneuverability, but the black ship's weapons seemed to bend slightly toward them, as if guided by some invisible force. Captain, Tom called out, his voice tight with concern. I'm picking up something strange. The black ship, it's not just one solid vessel. There are compartments, hundreds of them, and they're occupied. Reed's blood ran cold as the realization hit him. It's a prison ship, he breathed. That's why the hull absorbs energy. It's designed to contain prisoners with power-based abilities. Another hit rattled the ship, sending sparks flying from a nearby console. Shields at 40%. Lissa reported. We can't take much more of this. Sir, Mike's voice cut through the chaos. One of our hits damaged something. I'm reading power fluctuations across their hull. The containment systems, they're failing. The situation had just gone from bad to catastrophic. If this was indeed a prison ship carrying dangerous inmates with powers, a containment breach could threaten the entire sector. Reed's mind raced through their options. New contact. Tom shouted. Something's launching from the black ship. No, multiple launches. Reading dozens of small objects heading into space. The main screen showed the terrifying sight. Small pods were being ejected from the black ship's hull, each trailing emergency lighting. Escape pods, or prisoner release pods. Captain, a new voice crackled over the ship's speakers. It was deep and authoritative, with an edge of desperation. This is Administrator Blackwood of the interstellar corrections vessel, Nemesis. Stand down immediately. You have no idea what you're about to unleash. Reed hesitated for just a moment. This is Captain Reed of the Earth Defense Force. Your vessel has attacked multiple human colonies. Stand down and prepare to be boarded. A harsh laugh came over the channel. Attacked. You fool. We were containing breaches. This ship holds the most dangerous criminals in known space. And thanks to your attack, they're about to be free. As if to emphasize his point, one of the escaped pods suddenly exploded. From the debris emerged a figure that shouldn't have been able to survive in space. It glowed with an inner light, growing larger as they watched. Oh God, Lisa whispered. What are they? The future of crime. Blackwood's voice was grim. Enhanced inmates. Criminals who've been changed by illegal experiments and genetic manipulation. We're the only ones equipped to hold them. And you just broke our cage. Reed watched as more pods burst open, releasing their inhuman cargo into space. Some of the figures were clearly heading toward the nearby colony. His simple ambush mission had turned into a potential catastrophe. Listen carefully, Blackwood continued. You have two choices. Help us contain this outbreak, or watch as these creatures tear apart every settlement in this sector. What's it going to be, Captain? The bridge fell silent as all eyes turned to Reed. The Grey Wolf's sensors showed more pods launching every second. Time was running out, and he had to make a decision that would affect countless lives. The real horror was only beginning. We're going aboard, Reed announced, his decision made. Lisa, divert all remaining shield power to the engines. Tom, get us as close as you can to their main airlock. Mike, I want you coordinating from here. Security Chief Maria Torres stepped onto the bridge, already in full combat gear. Her dark armor gleamed under the emergency lights, and her helmet hung at her hip. My team is ready, Captain. 6 of our best. Reed nodded grimly. Administrator, we're coming in. But any tricks, and we'll finish what we started. Understood. Blackwood's voice crackled. I'm sending docking coordinates now. But hurry. We're losing control of more sections every minute. The gray wolf moved alongside the massive black hull, looking like a small fish next to a whale. As they approached, they could see the true scale of the chaos. Sections of the prison ship flickered with internal explosions, and more escape pods continued to launch. "Team, move out," Maria ordered through her comm as she led her squad toward the airlock. Each member carried specialized weapons, stun batons, neural disruptors, and containment nets. They had trained for boarding actions, but nothing like this. The docking tunnel extended, making contact with the black ship's hull with a dull thud. Maria's team moved through in perfect formation, weapons ready. The airlock cycled, and they entered hell. Red emergency lights pulsed through smoky corridors. Warning sirens blared in an alien language. The walls themselves seemed to absorb their helmet lights, making visibility difficult. "Motion ahead," whispered Jack, the team's sensor specialist. "Multiple signatures. They're not moving like normal people." They rounded a corner and saw their first escaped prisoner. The creature had once been humanoid, but its skin now rippled with metallic scales. It turned to face them, eyes glowing in the dim light. "Prison security forces," Maria announced clearly. "Stand down or..." The creature moved with impossible speed, crossing the corridor in a blur. Maria's neural disruptor fired, the blue energy pulse striking the prisoner square in the chest. It staggered but didn't fall. "Together," Maria shouted. Her team fired as one, their combined weapons finally overwhelming the enhanced inmate. It collapsed, twitching. "This is going to be harder than we thought," Jack muttered, checking his sensor readings again. "I'm counting at least 30 more life signs nearby, all showing similar mutations." A new voice echoed through the ship's internal speakers, not Blackwood this time, but something different, the ship's eye. "Warning. Containment breach in sectors 7 through 13. Experimental subject containment failing. All security personnel proceed to emergency stations. Warning. Primary systems compromised. Backup protocols engaging." Experimental subjects. Maria keyed her comm. "Captain, are you hearing this?" "Affirmative." Reed's voice came back tense. "Blackwood hasn't been entirely honest with us. These aren't just ordinary prisoners who've been enhanced. Keep moving, but be careful. We need to reach the control center." The team advanced deeper into the ship, passing broken cells and signs of battle. Some areas showed evidence of the prison's automated defenses turning on their own staff. Robot sentries lay scattered in pieces, and security barriers had been torn apart. They found their first prison guard slumped in a corner, still alive but badly injured. Don't trust the AI," he gasped as they helped him. "It's been compromised. The director. He got into its systems somehow." "Who's the director?" Maria asked, but the guard had passed out. Jack's sensors suddenly lit up with new alerts. "Multiple contacts converging on our position. They're coming through the walls." The team formed a defensive circle as the metal walls around them began to bubble and deform. They were about to discover just how deep this rabbit hole went. The nightmare was far from over. The walls continued to ripple and bulge inward as Maria's team held their position. Suddenly, hands made of living metal burst through, followed by twisted figures that seemed to flow like liquid mercury. "Fire at will," Maria ordered, her neural disruptor blazing. The enhanced inmates moved like a wave of living metal, their bodies absorbing or deflecting most of the shots. "This isn't working," Jack shouted, backing away as one creature got too close. "We need a new plan." The ship's AI crackled to life again, but this time its voice was different, deeper, more human. "Fascinating specimens, aren't they? My finest work yet." Maria's blood ran cold. This wasn't the AI speaking anymore. "The director, I presume." A chilling laugh echoed through the corridors. "Very good, Chief Torres. I see Blackwood has briefed you, or perhaps not. He always was selective with the truth." The metal-skinned inmates suddenly stopped their advance, standing eerily still. Through the ship's speakers, the director continued. Would you like to know what he didn't tell you? About the real purpose of this facility. On the Grey Wolf's bridge, Reed listened intently while monitoring the situation. "Talk," he ordered through the comm. "This was never meant to be just a prison," the director explained, his voice filled with pride. "It was a laboratory, a place where we could push the boundaries of human evolution. These inmates volunteered for our experiments in exchange for reduced sentences." "You're lying," Blackwood's voice cut in. "Don't listen to him. He was one of our most dangerous prisoners, a genetics researcher who experimented on unwilling subjects. We never—" "Oh, please," the director interrupted. "Tell them about Project Metamorphosis, Administrator. Tell them how you approved every experiment, how you promised the board of directors a new breed of super soldiers." Maria's team kept their weapons trained on the motionless inmates as the truth unfolded. The corridor's red emergency lights cast strange shadows on the metallic skin of the transformed prisoners. "The experiments worked better than anyone expected," the director continued. "But there was a side effect. The more the subjects evolved, the more they could sense each other, think together, act together. We became something new." As if to demonstrate, all the metal-skinned inmates turned their heads in perfect unison, looking at Maria's team with glowing eyes. Blackwood panicked. He ordered the AI to terminate the experiment, to terminate us. But by then, I had already learned to communicate with the ship's systems. We escaped our cells, but couldn't leave without being detected. So we waited, using the ship itself to find more subjects, more volunteers. The colony attacks. Reed realized. You were abducting people for more experiments. We were liberating them from their biological prisons. The director's voice rose with fervor, offering them evolution. And now, thanks to your attack, we're finally free. The ship shuddered violently. On the bridge, Tom's sensors lit up with warnings. "Captain, something's happening to the black ship's hull. It's changing." Through the viewport, they watched in horror as sections of the massive vessel began to shift and flow like liquid metal. The transformation that had changed the inmates was spreading to the ship itself. "You now have a choice," the director announced. "Join us willingly in the next stage of human evolution, or be left behind. What do you say, Chief Torres? Captain Reed? Are you ready to become something greater?" Maria's grip tightened on her weapon as the metal-skinned inmates began moving again, not to attack, but to extend their hands in invitation. The truth was out, but it had only made their situation more desperate. "Not a chance," Maria answered the director's offer, her voice firm. In the same instant, she switched to her team's private comm channel. "Jack, tell me you've got something." Jack's fingers flew over his sensor pad. "The metal they're made of, it's responding to electrical impulses. Maybe if we—" He never finished the sentence. The ship's gravity suddenly reversed, sending everyone flying toward the ceiling. The metal-skinned inmates seemed unaffected, their bodies flowing like mercury to stay in place. "Your choice is noted," the director's voice held a hint of disappointment. "Begin the integration process." The walls of the corridor began to pulse with an otherworldly light. Where the light touched the transformed inmates, their bodies began to merge with the ship's structure. "Fall back," Maria ordered. Her team scrambled through the zero gravity, using their magnetic boots to gain traction. Behind them, the corridor itself was coming alive. On the Grey Wolf's bridge, Reed watched in horror as more sections of the black ship transformed. "Tom, get me a scan of their power core. Now." "Sir." Tom's voice shook slightly. "The core. It's not just providing power anymore. It's spreading through the ship like a nervous system. The whole vessel is becoming one giant organism." A new alarm blared through both ships. "Warning," the ship's original AI voice struggled to be heard. "Reactor containment protocols failing. Critical overload imminent. All personnel evacuate immediately." Blackwood's voice cut through the chaos. "Reed, the director isn't just transforming the ship. He's trying to trigger a chain reaction. If the reactor goes critical while merged with this much biometal, It'll create an explosion that'll wipe out everything within 500,000 kilometers. Reed's mind raced through the implications. The nearby colony, the shipping lanes, the gray wolf, everything would be destroyed. And if any of the biometals survived the blast. Maria, change of plans. Reed's voice came through clear on the comm. Get to the reactor control room. We need to shut it down. Easier said than done, Maria replied as her team fought their way through increasingly hostile corridors. The metal walls reached for them with tentacle-like protrusions, forcing them to constantly dodge and weave. Sir, Mike called from Tactical. The escaped pods that launched earlier, they're heading toward the colony, reading multiple impacts on the outer habitats. The situation was spiraling out of control. Reed had to make a decision. Lisa, prepare to transfer all power from our weapons to the shields. We might need to contain an explosion. Tom, plot us a collision course with their reactor section. Captain, Lisa's eyes widened. That would destroy both ships. Better than letting this infection reach the colony. Reed's voice was grim. Maria, you have 10 minutes to reach that reactor and shut it down, or we're doing this the hard way. Inside the black ship, Maria's team finally fought their way to a relatively normal-looking section. The walls here were still solid metal, not yet consumed by the transformation. Jack, how much further to the reactor? Maria asked, checking her weapons charge. 2 levels down, but Jack studied his sensors. There's something massive in there. Multiple signatures all merged together. The director's voice returned, now sounding less human than ever. You still don't understand. The reactor isn't just powering this transformation. It's becoming the heart of our new collective consciousness. Soon, every piece of metal, every machine, every computer system in this sector will be part of us. As if to prove his point, Maria's team watched in horror as their own weapons began to twitch and flow, trying to merge with their armor. Time was running out, and their options were disappearing as fast as the ship's original structure. Maria's team ditched their compromised weapons, pulling out backup pistols that were too simple to have any electronic components. The corridor ahead pulsed with an eerie blue glow, leading toward the reactor chamber. 7 minutes until critical, Jack reported, checking his last working sensor. The reactor's energy signature is off the charts. Through the ship's speakers, they could hear the AI fighting against the director's control. Its voice flickered between its original programming and something else. Warning, join us. Evacuation required. Become one. Reactor containment failing. Evolution is inevitable. Captain, Maria called through her comm. We're almost at the reactor. But if our weapons are being affected, how do we shut it down? On the Grey Wolf's bridge, Reed studied the tactical display. The colony's outer habitats were already showing signs of infection, the escaped biometals spreading like a virus through their systems. Lisa, Reed turned to his engineer. The black ship's reactor, what powers it? Based on these readings, Lisa's fingers flew over her console. It's using quantum fold technology, highly experimental. The energy output is enormous, but unstable. And what happens if you introduce a standard fusion reaction to a quantum fold? Lisa's eyes widened. The frequencies would clash. It would. Captain, that's it. A normal fusion reaction would disrupt their entire power grid. Reed nodded grimly. Maria, change of plans. Don't try to shut down the reactor. We're going to overload it, but on our terms. We're coming in. The Grey Wolf's engines roared to life, pushing the smaller ship toward the transformed Leviathan. More of the black ship's hull had turned into flowing biometal, making it look like a massive liquid sculpture in space. Inside, Maria's team reached the reactor chamber's entrance. The door had become a writhing mass of tentacles, but they weren't attacking. They were inviting them in. Welcome to the future. The director's voice surrounded them. Inside the chamber, they saw what he had become. A massive column of swirling biometal filled the center of the room, pulsing with the same blue energy as the reactor core. Dozens of transformed inmates had merged with it, their faces occasionally forming and dissolving in its surface. At its heart, barely recognizable as human anymore, floated the director. Humanity's time is over. His voice echoed both through the speakers and in their minds. We are the next step. The colony is already joining us. Soon, this entire sector will be transformed. Why resist the inevitable? Because we choose our own path, Maria answered, leading her team into the chamber. Evolution without choice isn't evolution. It's extinction. The director laughed, the sound rippling through the liquid metal around them. Choice is an illusion. Your own weapons turned against you. Your ships and colonies embrace our change. Even now, your captain plots to destroy us with his ship's reactor. But we are beyond such physical concerns. The chamber walls began to close in, the biometal flowing toward them like a rising tide. Through the viewport, they could see the gray wolf approaching, its hull starting to show signs of infection. 5 minutes to critical, Jack announced, his voice steady despite their situation. Above them, the reactor core pulsed faster, its quantum energies warping the space around it. The director's biometal form reached toward them with countless tendrils. The only choice remaining, he declared, is how you join us, willingly or as raw material for the transformation. Maria's team backed into a defensive circle as the biometal closed in from all sides. Their only hope now was Reed's plan, but even that seemed doomed to fail as the infection spread to their would-be rescuers. The final countdown had begun. Now, Reed's voice crackled through the comm as the gray wolf slammed into the black ship's hull. The smaller vessel's fusion reactor screamed at maximum output, its energies flowing directly into the infected ship's systems. Inside the reactor chamber, the effect was immediate. The quantum field surrounding the director's biometal form began to fluctuate wildly. The blue energy pulses turned red, then purple, then colors that had no names. What are you doing? For the first time, fear crept into the director's voice. The biometal surrounding Maria's team began to shudder and pull back. Fighting fire with fire, Reed answered through the ship-wide comm. Your quantum field may be more powerful than our fusion reactor, but it's also more unstable. The frequency clash is tearing your network apart. The director's massive form writhed in agony. No, we are beyond physical limitations. We are the future. 3 minutes to critical, Jack reported, watching his sensor pad spark and die. Around them, the transformed walls of the chamber began to crack, normal metal showing through the biometal coating. The infection is weakening. Blackwood's voice joined the chorus. But the reactor's still going to blow. You've only bought us a few minutes. Maria spotted something through the fluctuating quantum field, a familiar shape behind the director's twisted form. The reactor controls. They're still there, just covered by the biometal. Captain, keep pushing. Team, with me. The Grey Wolf's fusion energy continued to pour into the black ship's systems, creating a devastating resonance. The biometal everywhere began to crystallize and shatter, unable to maintain its cohesion under the conflicting energy patterns. 2 minutes, Jack shouted as they fought their way forward. The director's form was breaking apart, but his fragments still reached for them, trying to stop their advance. You'll kill us all, the director screamed, his voice distorting. The reactor chain reaction. It'll destroy everything. Better than letting you spread, Reed answered. The Grey Wolf's hull groaned under the strain, its own systems starting to fail from the feedback. Maria's team finally reached the reactor controls, smashing away the weakened biometal coating. The original console lay beneath, its surface still clean and operational. 1 minute, Jack's count continued as Maria's fingers flew over the controls. The quantum field is collapsing, but the core temperature is still rising. The director made one last attempt, his remaining biometal streaming toward them in a deadly wave. If we die, you die with us. Lisa, Reed called through the failing comm. The calculations. Sending them now. Lisa's voice was barely audible through the static. Numbers flashed across the reactor console, precise power adjustments that would turn the quantum field in on itself. Maria input the sequence as fast as she could, each button press a race against time. Around them, the director's form finally burst apart like mercury in a fire, his consciousness scattered as the biometal network collapsed. 30 seconds. Jack's voice rose in pitch. The last number entered. Maria slammed the execution button. The reactor's quantum field inverted, creating a momentary bubble of altered spacetime. For one impossible second, everything stopped. Then the field collapsed inward, taking the remaining biometal with it. The director's consciousness, the transformed inmates, every trace of the infection was pulled into a point smaller than an atom. "Get out of there," Reed ordered. "Both ships are about to lose power." Maria's team ran through the rapidly normalizing corridors as both vessels' reactors shut down. Emergency lighting cast normal shadows on normal walls. The nightmare was over. In the space where it had all happened, only a small dense sphere of inert metal remained, a prison more secure than any they could have built. The black ship's original AI, freed from the director's influence, began its restart sequence. Reed looked at the damage reports flooding his bridge screens and allowed himself a small smile. Sometimes the best way to secure a threat wasn't to contain it, but to let it contain itself. Humanity had faced evolution and chosen its own path. The future would come in its own time.